What really happened behind the silence that broke millions of hearts? Did Jungkook make a fatal choice that left Taehyung in tears? And why is ARMY suddenly feeling this unbearable sadness? What if the smile you trusted the most suddenly became the sharpest knife? What if one single decision, made in a quiet moment, echoed louder than any stage, any song, any promise ever spoken? Before you read further, ask yourself this. Are we finally seeing the truth? Or are we only standing at the edge of a wound that has been hidden for far too long? If this story shakes you, if it makes your chest feel tight, don't stay silent. Share your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you feel the pain ARMY is feeling, and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because this is not just a story, this is an emotional storm that refuses to calm down. Breaking. The word itself feels heavy today, almost cruel, as if it already knows what it carries. Jungkook, the golden magne, the one whose laughter has healed millions, is now at the center of a moment that fans are calling fatal. Not fatal in the sense of ending a career, not fatal in headlines filled with cold facts, but fatal in the most human way possible. The kind that breaks a heart so deeply it spills into tears. And the name whispered alongside this moment, trembling on the lips of ARMY across the world, is Taehyung. It didn't begin with shouting. It didn't begin with a scandal splashed across screens. It began with a feeling, a strange shift, a silence that felt too loud. Fans who have followed every glance, every laugh, every shared breath between Jungkook and Taehyung sensed it almost instantly. Something was off. Something had changed. And when emotions like this surface, they never come without a reason. The story unfolding in the minds of ARMY is not built on a single clip or a single moment. It is woven from years of shared history, from memories so intimate that fans feel as if they were there, standing quietly in the background. Jungkook and Taehyung have always been more than just members of the same group in the eyes of fans. They were comfort. They were chaos and calm intertwined. They were the unspoken understanding that didn't need words. That is why this moment hurts the way it does. So what was the fatal thing Jungkook did? That is the question burning everywhere. The question that refuses to be answered easily. Some say it wasn't an action, but a choice. A choice to move forward without looking back. A choice to stay silent when words were needed the most. Others believe it was a boundary drawn too suddenly, too sharply, cutting through emotions that were never meant to be handled that way. Taehyung, known for wearing his heart openly, for letting emotions flow freely through music and expression, was seen differently after this moment. Fans describe his eyes as heavier, his smiles slower, his energy dimmed in a way that feels impossible to fake. And then came the tears. Not loud, dramatic tears meant for attention, but quiet ones, the kind that slip out when no one is supposed to notice. The kind that break you more than any public confession ever could. ARMY didn't need an official statement to feel it. They felt it in their bones. They felt it in the way Taehyung carried himself, in the way Jungkook avoided certain gazes, in the space that suddenly felt wider between them. This wasn't just imagination. This was emotional intelligence sharpened by years of watching, listening, and caring. What makes this moment even more painful is the contrast. Jungkook, who has always been seen as gentle, thoughtful, deeply loyal, is now perceived, fairly or not, as the one who caused the fracture. A single decision can outweigh years of shared laughter. That is the cruel truth of human relationships. Sometimes, it's not about intention. It's about impact. Was Jungkook protecting himself? Was he trying to grow, to change, to step into a version of himself that required distance? Or did he underestimate how deeply his actions would cut Taehyung? These questions circle endlessly, with no clear answer. Only emotional fallout. Taehyung's tears became a symbol, not of weakness, but of honesty. In a world where idols are expected to be perfect, composed, and endlessly strong, seeing that vulnerability shook fans to their core. It reminded everyone that behind the lights and the music are real people, with real hearts that can be broken just like anyone else's. ARMY's sadness is not dramatic. It is collective grief, a mourning of something that felt pure and unbreakable. Fans aren't just sad for Taehyung. They are sad for Jungkook too, because causing pain doesn't mean you are free from it. Often, it means you carry a different kind of weight. The guilt of knowing you were the reason someone you cared about cried. And here lies the biggest twist, the quiet shock that no one wants to say out loud. What if this heartbreak was inevitable? What if this was a necessary pain, the kind that forces growth, the kind that changes relationships forever, either breaking them completely or reshaping them into something new and unfamiliar? The silence from both sides only deepens the wound. Silence can be respectful, but it can also be devastating. In this case, it feels like an unanswered question hanging in the air, heavy and suffocating. Fans are left to interpret fragments, expressions, moments that feel loaded with meaning. And every interpretation hurts in its own way. This is why the story feels so emotional, so intense. It's not just about what happened. It's about what wasn't said. About apologies that may or may not have been spoken in private. About feelings that linger even when the world moves on. ARMY stands divided between hope and heartbreak. Hope that time will heal, that conversations will happen away from cameras, that understanding will replace pain. And heartbreak because sometimes, even love and care are not enough to prevent tears. As this emotional chapter continues, one thing is certain. This moment has changed the way fans see both Jungkook and Taehyung. Not as distant idols, but as humans navigating complicated emotions under an unforgiving spotlight. And maybe that is the most painful realization of all. So now, the question returns, sharper than ever. Was this truly a fatal mistake? Or just a painful step in a journey we don't fully understand yet? Was Taehyung's heartbreak the end of something? Or the beginning of a deeper, more honest truth? ARMY waits. Hearts heavy, eyes searching, emotions raw. And until the silence breaks, this story will continue to live. Not as a rumor, but as a shared feeling of sadness, empathy, and unanswered longing. The waiting is the hardest part, because time does not move gently when emotions are unresolved. It stretches, it drags, it forces every small detail to feel larger than it should. After the tears, after the silence, after the moment ARMY collectively held its breath, the story did not end. It deepened. Days passed, yet the atmosphere around Jungkook and Taehyung felt heavier, as if something invisible stood between them. Fans noticed how moments that once felt effortless now seemed carefully measured. A laugh that arrived a second too late. A glance that almost happened, then didn't. These are not things that can be proven, but they are things that can be felt, especially by those who have watched with love for years. What hurts most is not the idea that Jungkook intended to cause pain. It is the realization that even the purest bonds can be shaken by misunderstanding, timing, or emotional distance. Jungkook's expression during this period told its own quiet story. There was no arrogance, no coldness, only a kind of restraint that looked like someone holding back words that were too complicated to release. And Taehyung, still carrying the echo of that heartbreak, seemed to retreat inward. His creativity, once overflowing with warmth and color, began to feel more introspective, more fragile. Fans interpreted his art, his expressions, his subtle changes as reflections of an emotional storm still raging inside. Whether intentional or not, the pain was visible, and that visibility made it impossible for ARMY to look away. The most unsettling part of this chapter is the uncertainty. There is no villain here. No clear right or wrong. Just two people standing on different emotional ground, trying to understand where they lost alignment. And that is why it resonates so deeply. Because it mirrors real life. Because everyone knows what it feels like to be hurt by someone who never meant to hurt you. Speculation continued. Not fueled by malice, but by concern. Fans questioned whether conversations were happening behind closed doors, whether apologies were exchanged in whispers, whether healing